In the previous lesson, we went over color values, applied that to the background color, and I explained how to use comments and how to organize your files. In Lesson 4, we're going to go over a couple different font properties and talk about grouping. Before we do that, let's adjust our content. Instead of welcome to the home page, I want to say CSS tutorials. I'm going to add a second heading, or a second header, H2, and it's going to say instructed by May. And then close it with an end tag. So now when I save this file and refresh the page, it's going to say CSS tutorials instructed by May as our second header. Let's go ahead and adjust the font. First, we're going to start with a font family. And we're going to do this for H1. So type font-family. There's a few generic families, or a few basic families, such as serif, which has a little bit of decoration to the text, sans serif, which is similar to Arial or Helvetica, and then there's also monospace, where the characters all have the same width, regardless of whether they're capital, lowercase, S's, Z's, numbers, they all have the same space. When saying a value for a font family, some computers or browsers do not support certain fonts, so it's good to have multiple fonts as backups. So my first font I want to show is Arial. If the computer can't show that, I'm going to put a comma, and I just want it to be a sans serif. So sans serif. And then I'm going to end that with a semicolon. Now, saving and refreshing, you're going to see that the font family is now Arial because it's supported. If that wasn't supported, it would do a simple sans serif font. Along with the font family, you can also change the weight of the font. The font weight has values such as normal, bold, bolder, lighter, and those values are based on a scale from 100 to 900. So the font weight now for my heading, the default is actually already bold. So if I wanted to change that to normal, I would need to type normal, save the file, and the weight is going to change. You can see that it went from bold to normal. I could also do bolder, and so on. Another font property is the font style. Font-style is the property, and the values are everything from normal, italic, or oblique. So right now, the default value for this, H1, is normal. And I can change it to italic, save, and you can see that H1 became italicized. But I just want it to be normal. Now let's go over grouping. Currently we have two different font families throughout our page. I want the same font family throughout the entire page. So I need to change my second header, and I'm going to change that font family to the same as header 1. I also need to change my paragraph, so I'm going to use the P selector, same font family, and then close that bracket. Now when I save this file, refresh the page, you can see that everything has been changed to the value Arial for the font family. However, there's a much simpler way to do this with a lot less code, and that's through grouping. H1, H2, and P all have the same value for the same property. So let's go ahead and just delete what we have within the brackets for H2 and P, and let's also delete this font family for H1. To group these, you can simply write H1, comma, H2, comma, P, open bracket, put the property and value that they all have in common, and then close the bracket. Now, when I refresh this document, they will all have the same font family still applied to them in a lot less code. So it went from having font family Arial sans serif in 3 different spots to 1 singular spot. Now let's go ahead and add some color to this page. I want the color for H2 to be the gray-green, but I want to change H1 to this sea green color. I also want to change the color of P to the sea green color as well. H2, I want the style to be italicized, so I'm going to put the value, italic, next to the property font style. Save the style sheet, refresh the page, and you can see that the color, font styles, and font weights have been changed appropriately. So in this video, we went over font family, font weight, font style, and how to group those if similar elements have similar values for similar properties.